A lot of your sugar glider cages are absolutely terrible, so let's talk about it. I don't think this comes from any ill will or any ill intentions. I genuinely think that it comes from a place of misinformation because so few people actually own sugar gliders, and in that, even fewer people take care of them properly. So what's so terrible about your sugar glider cages? Well, I first want to show you guys mine. This is a triple criternation, which means that it's 6 feet tall, 3 feet wide, and 2 feet deep. A single criternation, which is one of these units, or equivalent size, is what's recommended as the bare minimum for 2 sugar gliders. So that would be 2 feet deep, 2 feet tall, and 3 foot wide. Of course, the exact dimensions can vary if you're matching that space. There's literally 2 sugar gliders over there, so you guys can decide if that looks big enough for you. However, bigger is always better. But like I mentioned before, size doesn't really seem to be the main issue. It's more of what's inside of the cage. So let's talk about this. This is a fleece pouch. My gliders absolutely love it. With them being marsupials, they love sleeping in hanging pouches that are nice and high off the floor. So these things are essentially a must in any sugar glider cage. However, I see so many cages take this to the extreme. I think fleece is beautiful and it's always fun to buy a new set of matching fleece, but there's nothing for sugar gliders to do with it. When they have fleece, what are they supposed to do? They can climb on top of it, they can go inside of it, go under it, but that's not very mentally stimulating. In my cage, I have one fleece pouch here, another fleece pouch. It's really important that you have multiple in case someone decides to sleep on their own. I also have a fleece rope there, a fleece rope hanging toy thing, another fleece pom-pom vine that I made, and another fleece rope, and a little hammock back there, and that's all the fleece that I have. In fact, even this amount of fleece isn't necessary. A lot of people actually do fleece-free cage setups, and those would probably be even more enriching. You don't even need fleece to make a sleeping pouch, and you can actually use these little trash cans that you can get at the Dollar Tree, or you can make your own using little boxes and adding in blankets. So instead of using fleece, what are you actually supposed to use? Well, pretty much anything that I have in here. Not to toot my own horn, but this is a really enriching setup for sugar gliders. Let's start with one of these garbage can toys here. I know it's not going to be as pretty as your minimalistic fleece setups that's really easy to clean and you can just throw in the wash once a week, but this gives your gliders so much to do. For one, all these charms make so much noise and it's so entertaining for the gliders to hang off of these, just play with the charms. They actually have 4 opposable thumbs, so they can definitely hold on to things and they love it. Another thing my boys love is this thing called a pulley. Sugar gliders have a partially prehensile tail, and a lot of them will actually do this thing called tail carrying, where they'll kind of put their entire body through the bracelet and then they'll hang it from their tail and they'll just carry it around, and this is really entertaining. Or they might just hang on it and have it move. This trash can toy is something that they can also go inside if they decide they want to sleep on it, and if they want to climb on it, it's a lot more difficult, so they do have to use, oh, I actually think there's someone sleeping in there. I was not expecting that. But if they do decide to climb on it, it requires a lot more skill than something like fleece, so it'll definitely keep them on their toes. I swear that I had no idea that someone was sleeping in here, so take your guess of who it is. I think it might be Cow. Oh, hey Camel, what's up? Okay, bye for now. Bye-bye. Another toy that I have in addition to this trash can one is this little pig hammock toy that I have, which goes really well with Piglet. Hi. So this is another hammock toy. Again, there's a bunch of charms for them to play on and try to tail carry. And this also has these little cups here that you can actually hide different treats and toys in. And there's another pulley on this side, which again, just gives them something to hang on. He's like, why are you playing with my toys? No, they're for me. Just some other things. I use this plastic chain and I have all these different kids' toys hanging off of it. And again, they just make a lot of noise. They're really entertaining for the gliders to hold and play with. Another like toy here. These straw things, they absolutely love. Let me see if I can show you one playing. Hey buddy, what is that? What is that? Oh my god. Oh my gosh. They love these and they will actually play with each other with them. Hey Piglet. Oh my god. What is that? What is that? I don't know if you guys can tell, but he is so interested in that. And they love these. These are specifically made for Glider, so you can buy from different approved vendors, like on Facebook groups. But I will be honest that they're kind of expensive. I really don't think there's anything that beats them because, again, they're custom tailor made for Gliders from other Glider owners. So you really can't do better than that. But there are a lot of cheaper alternatives. Like these are little dive rings that you kind of throw in a pool and you go get when you're practicing to swim. And I put these on some baby chains to make this kind of circle chain that, again, is like a swing, gives them something to climb and something to rope on. There's also this basket that I just got at Dollar Tree and I added this little fleece vine into. I also do pom-poms a lot. I probably should have said pom-poms because they're not really pom-poms, but I do these ping pong balls a lot. It's not in their cage now because it's just in their playtime area. But again, if you want to hide toys in here, these are going to be so cool for them to go through and forage, and it makes them really dig and get their instincts. You can also kind of make your own toys. These are little plastic rulers that I think I just got for 99 cents. And I've zip tied different charms and different toys onto them. Again, just to make it more entertaining. And I also made these toys and I want to do a tutorial on them, but this is just to give you some basic inspiration. Oh my gosh, do you smell the mealworms? This is another toy that's great for hiding in snacks. They love when I hide in food in here because they will just get food and they will hide because no one else will see them and they'll just enjoy their food. Piglet, you're not doing a very good job. Another thing about my cage is that it's actually kind of cluttered. I see a lot of people leaving tons of open space in their cage, which I think they think that the gliders use it to glide back and forth, but for the most part, unless you have something like a 5 or 6 foot long cage, they really can't be gliding to the full extent. And just having a bunch of empty space isn't very enriching, especially if you have a smaller cage. Obviously, if you have a massive cage and you have a lot of enrichment and you can spare some open space, that would be amazing. But even for something that's my size, which honestly goes from the floor all the way to the ceiling, I still would rather add clutter and things for them to do rather than just open space, which just gets really boring. Besides, open space is what they should be getting in their tent time and free roaming time and play times. So they should have plenty of opportunity to glide and play around anyway, so you don't have to provide a bunch of random open space in their cage. Another thing is the cage should kind of be like a gradient. That's at least how I set mine up. Gliders don't spend that much time at the bottom of the cage. They really prefer to be up high because that's where they feel safest. So I put a lot of clutter up here, and as I go down, I kind of reduce the clutter. It's also just harder to hang toys, so this kind of happens accidentally. In the second area of their cage, this is where I like to keep their sleeping pouch just so that it's easy for me to access because I'm really short. I also do have some levels in here, and I have this little like toy set that I just got at, I think it was Ross, and it's just a couple of dollars. A lot of these toys and kids toys are actually safe for gliders and you can find them at thrift stores. This is another one that I often have in their cage, but I have it out for their playtime now. And again, if you want to drill some holes and make it more custom made for gliders, that would be really cool. But if you're not very drill savvy like me, you can just add it in regular and I promise that they'll enjoy it. Now, I do have 2 levels in my cage, but they're honestly not necessary. I think for gliders, a lot of people assume them to be kind of like rats, and even rats don't need that many levels. But gliders are honestly like birds, and they can literally climb the bars. So they honestly don't need any levels, and all it does is it's not very enriching for them. It's a lot better for them to have more of an active layout where they're kind of forced to be on their feet and they're supposed to try to get around their cage. Gliders also don't need flat surfaces. This is just what I use because it's what the Critter Nation is pretty much best made for. But you can be completely fine having completely wire flooring. Gliders hold on to bars like this. They're not going to try to be flat like a hamster. If you're going to have wire cages for hamsters or wire bottoms, they're going to try to hold it flat and this is going to get inflamed. They're going to get cuts and they could get bumblefoot. But with gliders, since they're gripping it the same way a bird would, they really don't have those same issues. Going along with that is the type of wheel that they need. Sugar gliders don't do well on solid running track wheels. I get so many comments about my wheels and people telling me that they're completely unsafe, and I completely see where people are coming from because these look really weird and you don't really see them, and I don't think it'd be suitable for pretty much any pet besides sugar gliders, but this is the wheel you want for sugar gliders. If you go through my other videos, you can definitely see them running on the wheels, and they don't run the same way hamsters or gerbils or pretty much any animal do. They really glide and they jump from side to side, and they need that grip to grab on. Again, they're more like birds than they are little hamsters with their toe pads. They also will use these wheels and go on top of them, and multiple gliders can run on these at once, and these are what you want. This is a plastic mesh, so it's not the same as wire. Please don't go to the stores and buy those wire hamster wheels and use it. These are specifically made for sugar gliders, which is what makes them safe. In my opinion, none of the pre-made wheels you can buy out there are sugar glider safe. So if you want a wheel, these are the custom cruiser wheels, and you do have to custom order them, so they can be hard to find, but they are so necessary in a cage. A lot of people say that the ratio is 1 wheel to every 2 to 4 gliders. Use that as you will. I have 2 wheels. One of them is an extra wide track, so even more gliders can run on it. And I only have 4 gliders, and they definitely make use of the wheels. I would add another one if they didn't take up so much space. I think they definitely use a 3rd wheel, but because they do need so much clearing around them, I'd rather have more toys. Speaking of that, wheels are honestly so deadly. There's so many things that can go wrong when you're having wheels for even hamsters and hedgehogs who are solitary, but when you're having a sugar glider who's running super fast on a wheel like this, also, I know that it's off center. I think a lot of people think that it's like some cheaply like garage made wheel that I made. No, I paid a lot of money for this. These are like $70. But the reason that it actually turns off kilter is because it's specific to the custom cruiser model, and it just so it has a more bounce, and my sugar gliders love it so much more than the straight ones. But anyways, I was saying, when you have one of these going super duper fast, it's really easy for another glider to get hit and flown off or things like that. So for that, I always like to leave a lot of open space and a lot of open clearing around the wheel. The only thing there is this toy, which even this could probably be moved, but I don't like to have a lot of things in front of the wheel if gliders want to get out. And same thing around, you really don't want this wheel to be brushing up against things and potentially hit another glider. I also see a lot of wheels that are really high up. I think this does work and a lot of people do it, but for me personally, I feel a lot safer having the wheels close to the floor. I know my sugar gliders are so extremely clumsy. Yeah, I'm talking about you. And I see them fall off their wheel pretty often or just try to jump off and completely miss. So I feel a lot safer having it close to the floor. I definitely wouldn't be putting up near the complete top, but if you want to raise it up a little bit the way this is, I like to have a platform. I would still do it even if I had a wall-mounted wheel, but it's up to you. And water bottles is another thing. A lot of people think that water bottles aren't safe for animals, and I think that's a whole thing on itself. But for sugar gliders, you really do want water bottles because they are quite messy. This is just like a couple of days of them eating. They throw their food, they can't be poop trained or they can't go where you want them to go. They're gonna go everywhere except where you want. So they do make pretty big mess, and if you're having open water sources, which is completely fine, they can be pretty dirty, so I always like to give the option of a water bottle. Now, if you want something like a happy medium, this is honestly what I really love to use. These are water silos. They're made for birds. This is so messy. Don't look at it. But it's kind of like an open water source, so they can drink like a bowl, but it has the benefits of like a water bottle that is not just going to be an open source opening and growing bacteria. So with the water bottles, one, a lot of people don't use them or they only use one. Water bottles are extremely finicky and they clog super easy. You should honestly be checking every single day to make sure that your water bottles isn't clogged. But sometimes things happen and they just don't dispense water, or they drip and they completely drain themselves. So I would never have one water bottle be your sole source. I like to always have multiple water bottles. And I see people doing like drinking and food stations, which is kind of cute in theory, where you have all your water bottles lined up and you have the food right next to it. But when you're having multiple sugar gliders in a cage, every so often one sugar glider will decide to get territorial over something, so they're going to want to guard a water bottle, and you really don't want a situation where a sugar glider can't access water. So have the water bottles all over the cage. I always like to have one that's up high because this is where the boys spend most of their time playing, so I want to make sure they have a water up there. And I also like to have a water bottle that's right near the level. As you can see, they drink from this one a little bit more than that one because they really like being able to sit and drink without having to like hang upside down. Another thing is sleeping areas. I always recommend at least one sleeping area per glider. For the most part, they do all sleep together, but every so often you have an oddball or the colony is just having a bad day and everyone wants to sleep by themselves. I have this trash can, this fleece, and that trash can, and that pouch, and if they want to sleep in any of the toys, they probably could too. So just make sure you have a lot of sleeping places. Again, if someone wants to get territorial over something, just don't make it a big deal if there's a bunch of other pouches. Here's a different overview of my cage. Hopefully the next time you guys see a sugar glider cage tour from someone who has a fully matching fleece set that's very open and spaced out, you're gonna let them know that that's not very enriching. I also do want to add that a cage is kind of a home base for gliders and they do spend a lot of time in it, but at the same time they should still have out of cage time access. If you have sugar gliders, I truly believe that you need a dedicated play area and that's just as important as their cage. For my gliders, I have this entire room for them. So one of the areas is this little area by the windowsill. And I also have this entire wall that I made. Also, look at this light. I stole it from my sister and I feel a lot fancier. But I have this wall that I made for my gliders and it's just this like 10x garden mesh. So this is just something to give them to climb on and play. There's the final overview of my cage. I want to remind everyone that I'm learning so much every single day and I'm constantly growing and changing my opinions and changing my care. I'm not saying that what I'm doing is perfect or that it's the only way, but I will say that I've done a lot of research and I've done a lot of testing having my sugar gliders for over a year, and these are just the things that I found work really well for them, and these things have worked for a lot of other people. So I'd highly recommend you guys try it. Again, I think fleece is beautiful. I love the matching cage sets. I'm really jealous of those of you who have a bunch of them, but maybe reconsider just doing 100% fleece cages because again, they're just not enriching. Okay, that's everything. Bye guys. Just my luck, Camel escaped while I was filming. So he's just out here and Latte is literally trying to keep him company because he's just stuck on the outside of the cage. And I think it's really adorable. Camel, just go back in your pouch. I have it right here. It's on the top of the cage and I'm trying to convince it. Oh my gosh, this is gonna take forever.